Hi there. In a world where nothing is certain, that means anything is possible, right? If you want to fulfill your dreams and desires, you are in the right place. You absolutely can have a life of happiness. Everyone deserves an abundance of love, laughter, success, health, and wealth. I'm Tara Chadzakis, and you're listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. The show that brings you meditation, mindset, and motivation. So start by giving yourself permission to be awesome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome to this episode of Happy, Inspired, Motivated. Today, I am joined by Tom Bailey, who is the founder of Succeed Through Speaking. Now, Tom spent most of the first 25 years of his life avoiding public speaking. And that's not just going on stage and that kind of speaking. He said that he was very shy about speaking to groups of people, meeting people and speaking generally to more than one person at a time. However, since he's overcome his fear of speaking, he has moved into teaching others how to take control and get over their fear of speaking and start podcasting, speaking on stage, speaking at events, and taking control of the boardroom and in whichever avenue people need to speak. So now he helps entrepreneurs, experts, coaches, and consultants use speaking to amplify their authority. And that means that they can raise their profile, showcase their genius to a wider audience, and attract new clients. So let me introduce you to Tom. Hi, Tom, and welcome to Happy, Inspired, Motivated. How are you doing today?
Hi, Tara. I'm great, thanks. And thanks so much for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Whereabouts are you based, Tom?
So you may pick up on the accent throughout the session. I'm from Wolverhampton, which is in the Midlands here in the UK.
I did wonder. It doesn't sound very Midlandsy, but it does sound very British.
Yes, part of my story I'll talk about, I'm sure. I'll talk about the accent a little bit later on.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm down the south coast. I'm on the Isle of Wight at the bottom of the UK.
Oh, beautiful place.
Yeah,
very nice.
A bit warmer than Wolverhampton. So
absolutely, especially today, I'm sure.
So tell us a little bit about your journey before to get you where you are today.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for asking. So I guess for context, I spent the first probably 30 years of my life becoming an expert at avoiding public speaking. So
awesome.
That sets the scene a little bit. I was brilliant at avoiding it because I had social anxiety. I had a fear of public speaking. I used to go bright red, avoid any type of presenting or speaking.
Hot flushes and everything. Sweaty palms.
All of that. Yeah, all of that. And I guess for anyone listening that can resonate, you know how much this can hold you back, whether that's in business, in your career, in relationships, friendships. So for me, my story is all about how I went from social anxiety, crippling fear of speaking, to actually now running a business where I help people with public speaking.
Yeah, a bit of a turnaround there. So you say you couldn't social anxiety. Was that in the workplace, or was that actually a social life too?
Even family, to be honest. Social gatherings, Christmas Day, interviews, work dues, all of it. It was hard for me. I'm very much introverted, very much a reflector. It's always been very difficult, and I just used to avoid it, and therefore I was the shy guy my whole life.
So what kind of work were you doing up until sort of now, the junction before you had your epiphany?
Yeah, so I think the big thing for me was I went through university. I've always been passionate about business, and I ended up coming out of university and I couldn't get the job I wanted. I couldn't really land the interview. So no disrespect, it was actually very beneficial for me to go there, but I ended up in a contact center, answering the phone, low pay, work at the time.
I have to tell them, answering the phone, that means speaking to people.
Well, exactly, yeah. But the great thing here is it's one-to-one conversations, which I was brilliant at.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was a relator. I could build good relationships one-to-one. I could listen to people, I had empathy. So actually being in a contact center was brilliant for me because I could just sit there and have one-to-one conversations all the time.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I'd been there for about 6 years. The whole contact center was shut down. I was made redundant. And then I was in a position where I had to go through interviewing again. I thought, you know what, I can't spend my whole life hiding in the shadows. That was a big turning point for me to say, this is your opportunity. You know, you need to overcome this fear of speaking once and for all. You need to be able to interview. You need to be able to present. Let's get started on this journey.
Yeah. So what did you do to overcome your fear of public speaking then?
Yeah, so I went the wrong way for a long time. So I'll tell you
It's
what.
always a good story to tell.
Yeah, of course. I'll tell you 3 things that I did wrong. So the first thing that I did wrong was I bought every single book on public speaking, presenting, TED Talks, social anxiety. And the problem was that delayed my ability to speak really, because it's meant I spent 2 years reading about it. And I still wasn't speaking to anyone. I still wasn't on stages. I still wasn't presenting.
Yeah.
Great for my knowledge, but not great for my implementation.
Yeah. Theory is great.
Yeah, theory is great, but I'm all about action now and starting to feel what it feels like to speak. That's really important. Second big mistake was going to seminars, conferences, workshops, watching other speakers and thinking, how can I be like them? Because the problem with that is it creates a bigger gap of I'm never going to be as good as them because I'm here, they're there. So that was another mistake I made. And the last one was I actually paid a lot of money for a voice coach, vocal coach, to try and change my accent because I thought that having a Wolverhampton accent meant that I wasn't going to be able to become a speaker.
So do you have a Wolverhampton accent now or not?
Yes, I do. I do have it now. At the time, I tried to lose it completely. I tried to sound like, Queen's English. But ultimately, one thing I've learned is being authentic, being yourself, your own voice is more important than trying to sound like somebody else. And actually that sends you down the wrong path anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate immensely with what you've just said. When I started doing like my law of attraction and the Tony Robbins as well.
Yeah.
I had all the theory and I had to put it into practice, and watching other people or looking at other coaches, especially online, I was thinking, shit, I'm never going to be that good.
Yeah.
They're like miles ahead of me. Why? That's why they're doing really well. And I can never be that good. But it's they're a Z when you're at point A. You can't compare yourself to them, but it's difficult to not do that because you admire these people, don't you? When you look at them, and then when you start working with people, I mean, I know I don't train people for speaking, but when I'm coaching with people, it's great that they're looking at me and they're thinking, oh, Tara knows a lot of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You're where you were once wanted to be now. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't get to know how to do things without actually physically doing them. Like you say, the theory is great, but you've got to put it into practice.
Yeah, and instead of I want to be just like Tony Robbins or I want to be just like Dean Graziosi, it has to be I want to be better than I was yesterday. I want to be one step closer to being the best version of myself.
Yeah.
You never try and become somebody else because it's impossible. You're never going to reach that goal.
Oh, I agree completely. Even though Dean and Tony are phenomenal and huge role models in my life, but I studied under Tony for the Tony Robbins Medalist coaches, so I do love the guy. He's like my idol.
Exactly, but you're never going to beat him because your hands aren't as big as his. No,
and I'm 5'2.5", 3", so I'm certainly not as tall as he is either. No. Yeah. No, well, they've got their own things, haven't they? And they went through their own stuff. And I think it's their story or everybody's story that makes them more relatable as a person. So, you and I attract different people to Tony and Dean. So, we're not on the same, we're not even in the same country. So,
No, exactly. Yeah. So I guess, those 3 mistakes. Don't try and sound like someone else. Don't try and be like somebody else. And don't just read about other people that are doing it. You need to forge your own path. You need to get started, take action and learn as you go and make a few mistakes and be okay with that.
So you created Succeed Through Speaking, which is, sorry, I've got a bit of a bad throat actually, which is, it helps train people to become speakers. Can you tell me a little bit more about that as well?
Yeah, of course. And I think a lot of coaches, they become accidental coaches because they were their first client. And I very much relate to that in that, I took myself on this journey. I figured it out. And then people started asking me, how have you done it? I knew you 5 years ago. How have you become this new person? And for me, the answer was typically, let me show you, let me show you how. And I did a little bit of coaching accidentally, didn't charge to begin with. I did a little bit of trade work. You help me build my website. I'll help you do a bit of speaking, etc. So the business was born accidentally, but I found it was my purpose, my calling, my passion, absolutely my story now brought me to this moment. And my calling is to now help people who are afraid of going on camera. They're scared of, going on Zoom. They want to speak and present. They want to grow their personal brand, but they just don't have the confidence. People starting out in business who think, I wish I could do Instagram lives, they're the kind of people that I can now help through my coaching business succeed through speaking.
So how do you help them to overcome their fear of, well, I guess speaking and camera are different fears, aren't they? So let's look at public speaking first.
Yeah, I want to categorize them both together though, because
okay,
I think that fear of speaking, fear of presenting is because of something else. And that is, for me, when it comes to fear, judgment, opinions, other people laughing at you, you making a mistake. And
I've had all those.
me too. And when I think of fear and when I try and describe it to people, it's all those what if questions that you're naturally asking yourself. What if I make a mistake? What if the technology fails and I can't get back on? What if somebody asks me a question I don't know the answer? All those what if questions build up in our head and they actually stop us taking action because
it's never what if I'm successful, is it?
No, but that's what it needs to be,
Yeah.
What if I do this and get X opportunity? How could my business grow if I did this, even if I make a mistake? It's those more empowering questions you need to ask yourself.
Yeah.
And then fear is one side. The other side is limiting beliefs. I've got a Wolverhampton accent, I'm only 5'2", I'm not good enough. Who am I to become an expert in this space versus all these other experts? That's what stops us going on camera, and it's what stops us going on stage as well. I think it's very much interrelated.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I started my podcast, I was like, oh my God, because obviously when you listen to yourself back on recording, you sound terrible. It is just like, oh my God, my voice is awful. And I was thinking, can I really put this podcast out? Well, people are going to be like, oh my God, her voice sucks. I don't like it. And then I had some people saying to me, your voice is really soothing. And I'm like, really?
Exactly. It's their perspective. Yeah.
You never sound good when you listen to yourself anyway, do you? So,
and I think that's because when we're speaking, like now, naturally, what I'm hearing isn't actually the sound that's being produced, because when I listen back, I don't recognize it.
Yeah.
And that's just to do with the vibrations and the way the voice, is produced. So you'll never listen to your voice and think that sounds like me. But you need to just get used to that. You need to get used to that voice, listen to yourself back, create more audio recordings, and you do eventually get used to it.
Either that or you just get over it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Either way.
You just do it anyway, don't you?
Yeah.
So how do you train them? Is it one-to-one coaching that you work with your clients? Is it group coaching?
It was historically one-to-one coaching. I've found through COVID, moved into a much more online world, bigger global audience. I've moved to group coaching. So I've got 5 steps, 5 stages that I take people through. It's worth me talking about them because I think it will just help people see the process and the fact that it is a process and it can happen for you.
Yeah.
So the first 2 stages are actually before you start speaking, because one of the reasons people, as small business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, they're not yet speaking is because they don't have the clarity or the self-confidence to talk about themselves or their products.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the first stage is profile. And that is getting super clear on who you are, what you do, who your audience is, your niche, your statements. If someone says, what do you do? How do you answer that?
That's actually a really difficult one, no matter how long you've been doing it, because it tends to evolve, doesn't it, as well?
It does, yeah. But I mean, the process that I take people through with I call it the expert positioning statement, and it's got the person, the problem, and the promise in there. So who's the person that you can help? What problem are you solving for them? And then what is the promise or outcome that you can give them? So, for example, I help introverted entrepreneurs who have a fear of public speaking to raise their profile through presenting and podcasting.
Awesome.
But yeah, the person, who do you help? What's their pain, their problem? And then what's the promise or outcome that you offer? And as well as that in profile, how do you tell your story? I've just told mine about how I had become an expert at avoiding public speaking 30 years and the journey I went on. You need that story in your back pocket so that when you're speaking, presenting, podcasting, you've got that and ready to go. So that's all the profile stage.
Yeah.
Stage 2 is product. So if you're an entrepreneur, coach, business owner, you're offering a service, you're offering a product. As good as you are articulating what you do, you also need to be able to articulate, how you do it and what you offer to your clients as well. So I help people get really clear on describing what they do in a really clear way. For example, my 5 steps, that's a really clear way to describe what you do.
Yeah.
So you've got those 2 done, they're ready, profile and product. And then the next one is promotion, and that's through podcasting actually. So you and me are doing it right now. And I get people who've got a fear of public speaking to take their first step in speaking through podcasting, because you're in the comfort of your own home. You can edit the episode afterwards. You can delete it afterwards. There's less pressure on podcasting than there is on running a webinar or standing on stage.
Is this them creating their own podcast, or are they guests on your podcast?
So it's both actually. So I'm always their first guest on their podcast if they're launching one, and they're always a guest on my podcast if they want to become a guest. So
okay, cool.
Whichever way it is. And the reason why I do that is I'm your first guest is because, it's a low pressure environment again to interview somebody who you've already got a relationship with. And equally, I invite them onto my podcast because that's a great way for them to have a go at being a guest with me being able to coach them through that as well. So they've got the profile, they've got the product, they're podcasting. The next one is present. So virtual summits, webinars, online speaking, that's the next stage. And I help you find speaking gigs, whether that's in person or virtually, and also run your own webinars by developing a signature talk.
Cool.
And then the last stage is profit. So there's 5 Ps, obviously. Last stage is profit. And this is where I get you to think about, now you can talk about yourself, your business, you can podcast, you can present. How do you generate revenue on the back of this? How do you use webinars, presenting, speaking, podcasting to actually generate clients, leads into your business so that you can build your business as well? So it's a full circle really, and those 5 steps.
Perfect. So we're creating a lot more podcasts doing this as well, which is always great because podcasts are so educational. You said like you're usually their first interview. Do you encourage them to do solo episodes as well, or is it usually interview based podcasts that you get created?
So to begin with, the first stage is always interview based podcasts because it puts the spotlight on the guest. It means they've got a set of questions. Read a bio, ask a few great questions, close the episode. It takes the pressure off them. And I do recommend moving towards solo. And there's 2 topics: riff and rant. So you need to be able to riff about a topic which is something you're really passionate about. Let's say it's law of attraction. I'm sure you could talk about the law of attraction for 3 hours without coming up for air.
Easily.
So that's something you can riff on, like it's a guitar riff, let's say. And then equally, rant, what really frustrates you? What are people doing, your ideal clients? What are they doing that you wish they were no longer doing because it's actually taking them further away from their goal? So I could rant about trying to change your accent to become a better speaker, for example.
So riffing or ranting is, well, I guess it's a good way of creating some sort of theme
solo
or content for the podcast. Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So you said it's group coaching. Okay, and that's that's what you call the academy, is that right?
So the Expert Authority Accelerator, because it accelerates your authority.
Okay, sorry. Yes. Where did I see academy on here? I did see academy on here. So as part of the group coaching program, you do get access to the academy, which is where you get access to all the online training videos, resources, materials, etc. I didn't think I was losing it that bad. I knew I'd seen academy on your website because I have stalked your website, obviously.
And that's great. I've done the same for you as well.
Oh, scary stuff. So they work with you on amplifying their message, and you've got hold on, let me find it again so I get the name right. So your live demo, is that part of the process of becoming one of your group trainees, or is that something different?
Yeah, so every single month I'll run a masterclass or a live demo, which is a 60-minute workshop where I help people figure out how to implement the 5 steps in their business. So group coaching, it's group coaching, but not my clients. It's anybody can join. It's a free masterclass. So anyone can join. It's the first Thursday of every month at 4 p.m. UK time. Anybody can come along and they can find out how they can implement the 5 steps in their business to help them raise their profile.
So if my audience wanting to join you on that, they can just go to your website, which is succeedthroughspeaking.com, and they can find it under training. That's right,
Yes,
isn't
exactly. Or there should be a button on the homepage, or I think the URL is succeedthroughspeaking.com/live-demo-registration.
Yeah, it is. But I could also put that in the show notes anyway,
Okay,
can't I?
great. Thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome. So, any lasting words that you can give to my audience to help them, like, they want to get started, they're nervous. What's the best advice you can give them, just like straight off the bat?
Yeah, straight off the bat. So public speaking, presenting is a skill like any other. If you were learning to swim, your first lesson wouldn't be in the Pacific Ocean. You'd have your inflatable bands on, you'd step into the shallow end. That's exactly what I want you to do to start your journey is, the shallow end for you is probably picking up your smartphone, recording a 20-second video and then deleting it. That's your first step. The second step might be to record a quick minute video and send it to a friend for feedback. Just take those first few steps just to start speaking, getting used to speaking without a script, by the way. We don't want you to get scripting because it takes away the authenticity and the relatability. You end up sounding like a robot.
I've tried it. I've tried reading it and try and read it and record at the same time. And I'm just like, my eyes are going all over the screen. It looks rubbish. It does not look good.
I spent the first few years scripting everything because I thought safety blanket, I thought I can't make a mistake. I can't embarrass myself if I'm just reading because where could I go wrong? But yeah, ultimately it's the wrong way to go about it. Trust me.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, get started small, just do it. And you can always delete it afterwards if you don't like it.
Yeah, that's so true. You definitely can. So what's coming up for you in the future with your speaking business? What's the next big goals you have?
Yeah, so I think there's two big ones for me. One is to it have more impact because I've got about 10 to 12 clients now on my group coaching program, which is great. But there's a capacity for 50, 100. I can really help impact more lives if I can get this message out there. So that's one big thing for me now is just to get this message out there. I want to help more people. And then a personal goal for me is I've been doing a lot of virtual speaking, Zoom, virtual summits, podcasting the past couple of years. I want to now move back into that live environment and do some big stage speaking at some point.
That would be cool.
Because that'll be from social anxiety, not speaking to two people, to on a stage in front of 10,000 people. That would be a big jump for me, I think, to move to that next stage.
I must admit, I've done online summits and obviously podcasts and lives and all sorts of stuff. But actual physical stage speaking, I have never done. That would be great to do, but I think I must admit I would be pretty scared.
Yeah, absolutely. I can help you. I'm not trying to sell you.
You can.
I'm not trying to sell you a seat on the program, but
No, I know, but it's just like, because what if you forget what you want to say? And I know that there's sort of techniques to remember what your talk is about, but it's still pretty scary, isn't it?
It is. It's very scary. Yeah, it is very scary. And again, I wouldn't want your first presentation to be on a big stage in front of 10,000 people. We'd try and find that small audience, 20 to 30 people, for example.
Do you know what? I would love the big audience straight away.
Okay. That could also
that
work.
Would be like, I'm a very deep ender. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, screw it, just do it.
Screw it, just do it.
Yeah.
And that will really
shorten me on the stage.
It'll really shorten your journey. That's the thing. And you just have to go through that initial fear, but I guarantee you'll turn around at the end and say, I'm so glad I did that. And where's the next stage? Can I go and speak in Dubai? Where's the next big?
Well, that's it. I mean, and to be honest, I can either make a fool of myself for 10 people or 10,000. It's still the same thing, isn't it?
You're making a fool out of yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. And if I can laugh about it and I can laugh about myself while I'm doing it, even if I get it wrong, I think people like that as well, don't they? They like the vulnerability and the honesty that you're actually a person and you're not like this perfectly polished gem that doesn't make a mistake, because we're human, aren't we? Exactly. We like to connect with people.
And it's a really good point. Whether you're speaking in a small room or a big room, you're not trying to speak to everyone in that room. And what I mean by that is, you could be, I think the saying is, you could be the juiciest pear in the fruit bowl, but some people just don't like pears. That's the reality.
Yeah.
You don't have to be loved by everyone in the room. You just have to speak to your audience. Some people might disagree with you. Some people might not even like you. But you need to be okay with that, because you're just speaking to who you're speaking to, and who you resonate with.
And I think when you're on stage as well, it's not too bad, because you don't find out who doesn't like you anyway.
Yeah.
Unless they start throwing tomatoes at you and heckling. Get off!
Get off the stage. Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't happen anymore.
No.
So we're going to be seeing you on stage then shortly, I would imagine, because everything's opening back up again.
Absolutely, that's the plan. I'll start exploring my options, and then
Awesome.
Get myself booked onto a few stages soon.
Cool. And you'll have to let us know, and I'll gladly share the word about wherever you're speaking, and get the word out there that people can come along and see you. That'd be perfect.
Really appreciate it, Tara. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us today and teaching us your 5 tips for speaking. And if my audience want to get in touch with you, I'll leave them in the links in the show notes, so they can find you easily as well.
Great. Fantastic. Thanks again. And hopefully I can speak to you again soon, and some of your audience as well in the near future.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. I'll be back next week bringing more meditation, mindset, and motivation for your happy and successful life. To find out more about our community, go to tarachatzakis.com/happy, inspired, motivated.